I think what's beautiful is that some of the work in Phantm, and without doing an ad for Phantm, like we've tried to basically build Phantm in Thankyou. I didn't tell Elliot this, but like we've tried to build our own teams, and like you need people in house. We have some amazing people who think about this, but you actually need partners who are like 24/7 living and breathing. But where you find us in the wrestle is trying to get a consumer who's addicted to single-use plastic bottles, pumps, and just buying them, chucking them out, putting them in the recycle bin with the lid on it, with the spring in it, and just you have a consumer there, you have a retail sector that's absolutely favors and built for that. And then you find us basically wrestling to try and get people to think different and take further steps. And so, you know, I'm excited about where we are today because I know how hard fought it's been and how hard fought it still is. And I'm probably more excited, as most optimists are, about the future and, okay, what innovation next step can we take? Yeah, so let me start by saying that spring-free lid as an example. We talked about it for years, but people had to make it. And those that made it, we saw others start to make the jump in other parts of the world. And we're like, oh, yes, let's go. So what I think is cool about leadership is it's inspiring. So we took this step because we've talked about it. This is a real solution. Yeah, I think it was 5 times the cost, and maybe that'll come down soon, maybe 4. Anyway, it's not great. But if we all adopted it, man, that solves an issue and it'll bring the price down. And so people have got to move, right? And one would argue it's very on brand for Thankyou to move. And I would say that's true. It's sort of the blessing and the curse of, you know, a brand that says, hey, we're here for good. You get to do the good, and hopefully it adds up later. And so that's the space you find us in. I hope more and more people take that spring-free lid up concept. Everyone should. And if we all did, it's a win for everyone. And so anyone on the call who's like, oh, it's so expensive right now, it's almost like we just need to get on some other group chat and we're like, okay, but let's all do it. And if we all did it, it's a win. And I think more of that would be great. So, I mean, it is one of our core focuses in our responsible business goals. So, you know, we talk about reducing carbon, reducing waste, and certainly looking at end of life. And so, like hopefully everyone on this call, there is the intention and the vision and the mission to take better and more sustainable steps. Then we have our current runway and our future. So in the current runway, if everyone opens our bottles, and this is true of not just our Forever bottles, but our existing range too, you'll open it up and you'll see no spring in that lid. And that spring-free lid, that is, you know, and others are starting to move into that space, is more expensive. Like commercially, it's like, if you're pure commercial, you're like, nah, this does not make any sense. But the reason we think it makes sense is because ultimately this matters, end of life matters. And that spring coming out is one of many steps that need to happen across product and innovation. Consumers are starting to wake up to it. But, you know, aside from consumers waking up to it, it's the right decision. So, you know, that's some of today, what you see on shelf. I think tomorrow, you know, if we'd met 2-3 years ago and you said to me, you're going to make 1 liter and 3 liter refills, and they're going to be a plastic, a HDPE, a recycled plastic, I'd be like, never. That's not what we're going to do. And we'd explored so many other materials. However, unfortunately, where that landed, that was the best. It's kind of like the best of the worst options. And it's so I hope that the future call we're reviewing, cool, next step. Now, if you're on the call going, why didn't Thankyou go dissolvables or concentrates? We've got innovation in both. We've looked at it for a very long time. Herein lies one of the challenges, is where are consumers at? Where is that the mass middle? Where are they really at? And they're not there yet. And a lot of brands are popping up. And I think you could sustain that innovation and get a very small customer base in Australia, America, Asia. And like as a business, you could go on that journey, and some have done that. And that's good. That should happen. That's how we move forward as a society, with that innovation. The challenge is that mass, where a lot of the volume is and a lot of the problems are. We see a priority in like, okay, how do we engage in this group, and how do we get them in a different system? And you know, I can tell you right now, in personal care, people want something that feels. not too watery. And you'd think surely that's not too high on the priority list, and it turns out it's one of the many things it is. So it's a challenge.